Hello everyone, I am Caleb Dankwa and I'm here to discuss my project for this semester. So the title of my project was Factors that Influence Employee Turnover. Normally employees leave organizations for several reasons, none peculiar to them. But what I want to examine or what I want us to know, specifically my problem statement, is to identify factors that are primarily cause of employee turnover within the business. So specifically, some of the underlying factors that I will consider is salary, overtime payment or incentives, and then the service time. Service time is the number of years the person had been affiliated to a particular organization. So the data set I used for this project was basically from Oklahoma, the public sector in Oklahoma. There are 3 different data sets: turnover by service time, physical years from 2009 to 2013, state of Oklahoma payroll 2013, and then state of Oklahoma payroll 2011. So I had 3 hypotheses. The hypothesis 1 was to identify the relationship between salary and employee turnover. The alternate hypothesis states that all things being equal, if employees receive higher salary, turnover rates will be reducing or will be on a decrease. However, if employees' salaries are on the low, turnover rates will be on the high. And then the null hypothesis also states that salaries doesn't have any effect on the employee turnover. The second hypothesis also will try to analyze the influence of overtime or incentives on employee turnover. Just as the salaries, higher overtime payment or overtime rates will lead to a fewer employee turnover. And then the third hypothesis will also try to examine the relationship between service time and then employee turnover. The alternative hypothesis will try to identify the relationship that exists between these 2 variables by assuming that the higher an employee stays in an organization, the possibility of that person not leaving, and then the fewer years an employee stays with the organization, the possibility that that employee might leave. So the first and the second hypothesis will be tested using Linear regression models, and then the third hypothesis will be tested using decision tree classification model. The findings were as follows. The first hypothesis, that's salary and employee turnover. From the model summary, R and adjusted R were all very low. Adjusted R was 0.009, which indicated that the model wasn't significant to the hypothesis being tested. And then the F and the P values, the F value was very also low, 0.118, and then the P value was very high, 0.889, which will have been 0.001 for the model to be accurate. So based on these 2 models, we cannot reject the null hypothesis, and therefore we can conclude that, or I can conclude that salaries does not affect employee turnover in Oklahoma. And then the second hypothesis also states the same, or the findings were the same as the first hypothesis. The P values and then the F values. F value was very low, P value was very high, the adjusted R was also very low. P value here was 0.134, which is still very high. And then lastly, the third hypothesis, employee turnover and service time. Decision tree classification was used for this analysis. It was the findings showed that though the test accuracy was about 16%, which was very low as well, and then the decision tree classification shows that the number of people who resigned in Oklahoma who had actually spent more than 20 years were higher than the number of people who actually spent less than 3 years. So we can base on that and also say that hypothesis, the null hypothesis for cannot be rejected. So discussions and conclusions and recommendations. So based on the above, I can clearly say that all the hypotheses, the null hypothesis will not be able to be rejected based on the data analysis and then the findings. And the recommendations are that this topic will or results will be more suitable to the various hypotheses if data was primarily gathered from employees themselves. If data was primarily gathered, results will have been a bit suitable to the various hypotheses. Thank you.